Saint Drogo, but in a Katie voice.
Nailed it.
That was pretty good.
Should have done it in her newsy voice. Saint Drogo
Saint
here.
Drogo.
Extra.
Saint Drogo on the rise.
Honestly.
What you can do about it at 8.
Look.
That's
Mike,
my newscaster.
Brandon,
I busted out a whole new voice for this, you guys.
Newscaster.
I am speaking directly to Mike, Brandon, the rest of the Monster Makeup crew. I give you full permission to use all of that in your next trailer.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is episode 251 of I Hope You Suffer. I am a name. I'm punk number 1.
I'm Kit, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me. I don't know names.
Kit is year-rounder.
Oh, yeah.
You're
I'll take it.
rounder. I'm gonna be T-Boy.
Yeah, T-Boy, our boy Brian.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't even think you see his face.
You
he
do.
Just pours his tea.
No, he's in it. Like, you see him like twice. I think he's one of the. He might be one of the guys in the cloaks at the end. I can't remember.
Yeah. Either way, I gotta say, I'm obsessed with that tea. That's like a little closed flower, and then you put it in water and it blossoms, and that's what's happening. And I was like, oh, perfect. I love it. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about a spoiler-free review of this year's Saint Drogo that we were lucky enough to watch early because we love those dudes. And yeah, I was I don't know, I was very excited when Brandon messaged me and was like, hey, what's your email? I'm sending you a screener. I was like, fuck yes, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched this 3 times now. Just to kind of like, I don't like, it was interesting because I really liked it the first watch, and it grew on me the second watch. And then the third watch, I was just kind of like watching to see if I could like
Spot stuff.
Yeah, like just like little behind the scenes to see if there's like hints at things. And I've really liked it all 3 watches. This worked extremely well for me. What did y'all think?
That's good. I'm super impressed that they're able to go straight from like Death Drop Gorgeous to
the exact
something
opposite.
like this. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Katie, what about you?
It's just kidding. No, I agree. So when we did Death Drop Gorgeous, like obviously I didn't know what it was. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but it ended up being like one of my favorite movies of the year, whatever year we watched it, because it, obviously
that was
last year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I obviously, when they announced this project, I didn't know anything about the first one, but I've actually been following this one, and I've been like really into all of the like sneak peek things that have been shown, and I still like wasn't really sure what to expect because like you guys said, it's extremely different. But I was interested because I meant to look up the episode that we did
for Death Drop Gorgeous.
No, Phantom of the
the episode
with Brandon.
Yeah, we had Brandon on, who is also like the main character actor, one of the main actors in the movie also. And when, of course, like in the beginning
episode
of that,
219.
Okay, 219. Go listen to that because like not only is that movie fucking wacky, he was such a fun guest.
Yeah.
He was kind of talking about like how his start was in like folk horror, which I was like, okay, now I'm actually really, really interested because I think folk horror is like a genre that I feel like doesn't get a super amount of attention, and even when it does, I feel like it's hard to do right.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I think folk horror gets a lot of attention, but it's not. It's for movies that were made 40 years ago. I feel
Right,
like folk horror is one of those genres that it gets hard to kind of do now really well. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's examples that I just don't, you know.
Like I'm sure, yeah,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of shit. And what I think sets this movie apart for me from the other ones is that like most of the time when you're dealing with folk horror, it's like the woods and the mountains, and you don't really see a lot set at the beach in the ocean and all that stuff, which to me, I don't know why I never thought of it before, but it's like such a no-brainer because the ocean is literally ancient and as we all know, very terrifying already. And like while there's I don't I'm not going to spoil anything. There's not really stuff that has to do with like nothing comes out of the water, right? But like you still have this whole like setting and then there's like other imagery throughout it that are like prevalent in folk horror like thistles and teeth and all of that stuff that's like brought in a really good way. And so like when I think of like a folk horror movie, I don't think of like, ooh, beach town, touristy beach town. And so that aspect of it for this to me made it like really unique. And I was like, I never thought about it before, but I really liked it.
It really does use the like oceanside towns always have like a very weird vibe
Yes.
to them
Yeah.
because they've got the on season and off season, and it does a really good job leveraging that to its advantage. And you know, coming in the start of the off season, and it's just kind of like a weird, quiet, eerie little place. Like
It's so smart because like the town just feels creepy from just on the
Anyway,
onset,
yeah.
despite what's happening in the movie, and then like the just like all of the shit on the beach and these like wintry dunes all
Yeah.
looks incredible. Like the way it's shot like is
Yeah.
like it looks great. Like it's just smart like to do this like a like quote unquote abandoned like Rhode Island town because it's the off season, so the only people there are like the people that are like keeping it preserved throughout the winter. Because there's even a moment where like essentially the gist of the movie is this gay couple who's one of their exes went to this town for the summer to like make money and has disappeared, and they go to this town to kind of figure out what's happening, and weird shit's happening. And like at some point they're talking to this guy in the town and they're like, well, why don't we go like file a police report? And he's like, well, the police are gone, you're gonna have to go like 2 or 3 towns over to like talk to somebody, and they're not gonna like not even gonna come look. And it's
care.
like even the fucking police just leave town, I guess.
Yeah, just like, all right, well, that's enough of that.
It's it's just smart. Like I don't know if I ever would have thought like, oh, like a Rhode Island town, just a beach town for a fucking folk horror movie, but it makes so much sense when you see it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking, I think like from the very beginning of the movie, there was like 2 things that really stood out to me that like I wasn't. Whenever you're like watching a movie that's like this kind of like level of budget, you don't really like know what to expect going in, right? And we've seen so many movies where like the quality of it, you can tell. The cinematography in this movie is amazing. The score also
so
very
good.
The score's
good.
so good.
It's like it's got that like build up of like an ominous like foreboding type thing that's happening. And I also thought that like I don't know how much of this comes from just me loving like weird like New Englandy type aesthetic. The everything was aesthetic. So there's like this shot. They're like any place that they are, like their apartment, the main character's boyfriend Adrian's like job, he goes to this like diner, Then they take the trip, they walk into this like hotel room, and it just struck me how everything was like perfect looking, like aesthetically. Everything was in its place. Everything was decorated like in a way that made me like notice, if that makes sense. Like a lot of times when you're watching movies, like the stuff that's happening in the background is like whatever, but everything was just so perfect to me that it was like stood out as being weird.
Yeah.
And so that added to like the weird, like everyone's like nobody's in this town and it's abandoned, but everything still looks so freaking perfect. It was like unsettling almost. So like cinematography, and then yeah, like I said, everything was like aesthetically pleasing, even in like the shots of like the nature and like the landscape that they took were just like so awesome. And then there was specifically one dream sequence that I think that they use in the trailer where you see like a hooded figure like standing by the water, and then it's like reflected, and it just was like there were so many shots like that that I was just like, wow, that's so good.
There's a scene in it where it's like they're kind of like out in the dunes, or I think it's just like Brandon's character Caleb is like out in the dunes, and there's just like this like stone half of like, or like the front face of like an abandoned stoned house or some shit that he goes into, and like all of a sudden there's like just this like black fucking billowing smoke coming out of it that just looks like incredible. And there's like a lot of things where like I really like certain like the way they edited parts of it where it'll be like this dark scene that edits straight to a shot, and like it'll like, you know, this dark scene that goes black, and then it's like the bright ass shot of the sun that you're just like, oh Jesus, like where it's like coming the next day, and like I don't know, the cinematography, like I feel like there's a bunch of shit that like I probably have not picked up on yet in like the way things are filmed, because there's a lot of like circles in this movie that I started picking up on, like specifically the way things are shot, where there's like shots of the moon with like thistly like tree limbs surrounding it. There's a shot of like a dude making like a clay pot that's shot very deliberately from like the same angle it feels like the sun was shot in, and like I don't know, it's just kind of like really gorgeous cinematography going on, especially when you get out into like the beach, and like I don't know, just the way all of the beach, the way the beach looks in this, like I guess because my experiences always with the beach up until moving to New Jersey have all been specifically like the summer. And so seeing like a snow-covered beach in this, I was like, oh wow, this is just like I don't know, it just kind of adds to the creepiness of it for me.
Yeah, I think it's smart to be like, you know, we were saying like the creepy deserted town is like already creepy, and something about like part of the premise is that you said Caleb's like ex seemingly goes missing. Like so he's going like on this trip to like kind of figure out what happened, and there's something about it being extremely cold and snowy that makes it even more like you're already on edge because you don't know what happened to this person that you still obviously care about, right? And you're not getting anywhere. The people are being like weird. You're having like weird nightmares or whatever, and you're already like in a state of like it's not good, right? And then the idea that also you're having to go look around when it's like fucking freezing at the ocean and it's snowing, to me adds a level of like uncomfortableness that just like really like heightens to everything that happens.
Well, it's I really like enjoyed the aspect that it's like you start off at this sort of this couple that's kind of like at odds, I guess is the best way to put it. Like they're like still a couple, but you could tell there's kind of like some backstory that you kind of get glimpses of, but you never have like a full kind of context of like what's going on with them. And at like the minute you get to the town, like just things get weird, and it kind of like the movie to me felt like you're like essentially watching like other people be crazy to an extent, but like also like not, like they kind of seem normal, but also they're just off enough that you're like, this is really weird. But that sort of aspect of it seems to be driving Caleb crazy. And like you're kind of watching him kind of like slowly lose his mind to like the idea that almost everything else feels like absurd and weird. And like,
Yeah.
like, cause like for the most part, like Michael's Adrian character, like the way he acts throughout it is very one tone, right? Like he never, like there's like one scene where he kind of like yells at Caleb, but like for the most part he's kind of like pretty even keeled throughout the whole thing.
Just like goes with the flow,
But
kind of.
it's while slowly throughout, Caleb is just kind of slowly like fraying at the edges until you get to like the climax, or like right before the climax when he shows up at this weird eyes wide shut style party. Which also, shout out Complete Destruction, looking incredible.
Oh my god, I know.
I love that, like I love that it feels like, because like we kind of said, like, so this movie, like Death Drop Gorgeous, extremely campy. There's a lot of like funny parts in it, and I feel like there's like maybe 2 jokes at the beginning of this movie, and then it's like dead serious for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And like I like that you like it kind of flipped it even more, where like Brandon's Tony Two Fingers character in Death Drop Gorgeous, like he's in it a lot, and like Michael's in it a lot, but they're like side characters to the story, right? And it kind of took all of the main characters from Death Drop Gorgeous, like the actors that played main characters, and they are now sort of background side characters to like Brandon and Michael's characters in this, which I kind of appreciate, because like you get like Wayne's in it, Chris, our dude Brian from like the guy we loved in fucking Death Drop Gorgeous, is in it, like Complete Destruction's back in it, but they're all in it for either like not really a non-speaking role, or maybe like they just have like a couple lines and then they're like out of it. And I kind of like that, also that flip of like it's just everything about it feels like they were like, we're gonna do the complete opposite of what we did the first time, and it works so well.
I do like if they continue that it is kind of like a Death Drop Gorgeous universe, kind of like Astron 6, where it's like it's the same kind of group of people, but every time it's something different.
Right.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only part to me that obviously the Eyes Wide Shut house party, if you know me at all, was like whatever to me. There was something, I don't know if this is like really much like kind of a spoiler.
I could cut it out if it is.
Well, let's just say very not spoiler to. It is kind of a spoiler. Oh, I want to talk about it though.
I feel like at some point we'll probably discuss it a little more in depth when it's like actually out, because I have like a lot of thoughts that are very spoilery that I want to discuss with like somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just have to do one later. Because there's like one aspect of it that is just so heinous to me that I was like, you stupid bitches, but like in such a good way.
Yeah.
But I won't spoil it.
It was real interesting watching it like a couple times, because it was like, I think the first time, like you get like a scene towards the beginning when they show up to town, and you're kind of introduced to all of these people that just like live in the town, that like, you know, like they're going around, it's like, oh, like here's like, I'm looking for this guy, have you seen him, blah blah blah. That all ends up tying into the rest of the movie somehow, that like upon a rewatch I was like, oh shit, like I didn't even pick up on any of this the first time I watched it. The special effects at the end, without spoiling it, incredible. Like the makeup on
it's so good.
It looks fucking amazing, and especially like
so gross,
like knowing how little money this had to be made, Like, it's a fucking astounding what they pull off at the end.
Well,
The
especially
opening too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It starts with gore. It like pretty much ends with gore. And I'm gonna say like I am not. There's a few things that can happen in movies that I will look away from. Like that will make me squeamish, but like not a lot, obviously, because we've seen so many things at this point that it's like you get desensitized to it, and then you're like, wow, this is really cool. I was a little squeamish of the end. I was like, oh my goodness, because I wasn't expecting it. And the other thing that I like so much about it is like I don't think this is like much of a spoiler, but you were talking about how they do scenes where it's like very bright. I don't think it was extremely brave of them to do a final scene like this in broad daylight.
Yes, just straight up sunlight.
And like they pulled it off. It worked. It was great. I loved it. But I felt like that there's like such a big significance to that too, that like it just was like
it's
I don't even have words. Like it was so good.
It's also like extremely sad of
Yeah,
like a
oh my
movie.
God,
Yeah.
Like I wasn't expecting to be like as emotional watching it as like I ended up being.
So there was actually, and again, I'm not going to pretend I don't cry all the time because I definitely do. I don't cry a lot in movies that we watch. Like obviously this is an outside the podcast movie too, but like I don't cry a lot in those kinds of movies. There were 2 times where I teared up.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting that at all.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Fuck, there was something I was going to bring up before we started talking about that. Now I remember what it was. Oh, I think the thing that really works for it is the runtime of like an hour and 18 minutes. Like,
yeah,
it's a slow burn movie that never necessarily feels slow. Because like that, a thing with a lot of folk horror for me that I can't get with is like, it'll be like an hour 40 something minute movie and it's like nothing happening. And like,
well,
I think it was smart of them to have the runtime the way it is, because like you get like the whole like sort of middle hour, maybe 50 minutes of the movie is like just weird shit happening, but it's not like you don't get any real like, I don't know how to say it without necessarily like spoiling stuff. You don't get a lot of action-y type stuff. It's a lot of like acting and just kind of mystery shit in like 50 minutes, and then you get to the climax. And it's like, I feel like if they would have stretched it any longer, it would have lost momentum of what's happening.
yeah. Well, and I think the thing that works about it too is that like you're not waiting the entire movie for something weird to happen. There's like weird stuff interspersed with it, but in a way that like something weird will happen, and then the next day Caleb is just like, well, that was weird, and just like goes on, because he's like, in the middle of like, he's been having weird dreams, and so like anything weird that happens to him, it is kind of like one of those movies where the question is like, is this happening, or is it just a dream, or is somebody, I don't know, like somehow making him see these things? You know what I mean? Like you don't know, and there's just like something like very unsettling will happen, and then the next day he just has to be like, well, what am I gonna do about it? You know what I mean? Like, just moves on.
I also appreciate that it's like they don't, like, there is an explanation, but there's not an explanation as to what's happening. Like, you kind of get a little bit of an idea of what's happening in this town, but not really. It's kind of along the lines of like The Void, where like yes, they kind of tell you what's going on, but it's not really an explanation of what's going on, if that makes sense. It's very like vibey. You just kind of have to go with it and just be like, okay, like I guess that makes sense, but also like you don't get the explanation as to why that makes sense.
No, it's like kind of literally just as if like somebody said to you, yeah, weird stuff's going on. And you're like, all right. Like yeah, like you're right. It is kind of I feel like it is one of those things where like maybe they like say something vague enough that you either glean what you personally think is happening or you don't. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you decide what the fucked up
Which
thing
is
is.
kind of like what I want when I watch a folk horror movie. Like I don't like. I think
Yeah, I agree.
that's
Yeah.
kind of what works. I feel like about like the original Wicker Man is like you get to the end of it and like you kind of get an idea of like why things are happening in it, but not real specifics. Where I think they kind of try to do that in the Nick Cage one that like makes it fail a little bit more. I don't know. I've said it before. Like I'm always on board with a movie that's just like here's the movie, take from it
Yeah.
what you want,
Dude,
and like
yeah.
I'm not explaining it. So like I don't know. That really worked for me.
I don't think this is a spoiler because the movie is literally called Saint Drago. Saint Drago thyself, very cool. Just
Yes,
saying.
that's kind of like the what I say like the makeup special effects stuff at the end too. Like that shit fucking rocks. Like it I like again, with the budget, I don't know how they pulled off that design.
Yeah.
It's I know there's a lot of like either favors called in or just like people just like, yeah, I'll do this for fucking the cheapest way possible. It rules. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else? Like I said, we'll probably do like
No,
I
because
yeah, like yeah.
spoilers.
Yeah.
I've talked to Brandon about coming back on. Like he's got a book coming out that's going to be going on
Oh, fuck yeah.
sale sometime in like May, I think. That I was like, yeah, dude, like whenever like y'all are ready to like promote either the book or the movie kind of coming out wider, like come back on. We'll totally do something. So I feel like around that, like once this is like kind of out more wide because
This
the
is just Salem Fest or whatever,
yeah,
right?
like it's coming out, it's premiering at Salem Fest the weekend. Like I'm gonna drop this probably tomorrow. So like this weekend it's premiering at Salem Fest, and I think the first showing sold out. And I think as of right now, there's still tickets for like the Sunday showing if you're in that area and want to go. But like, yeah, I definitely would like. I will dive into this like deeper with whenever it comes out.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
it's a banger. Everybody keep an eye out. Like,
Bing,
we'll
bang, bang.
100% whenever it's like coming out. Probably talk about it like coming
Oh
out.
yeah.
So we'll let you know when that shit's happening. But as of right now, keep an eye because it rocks. I was very very stoked watching it. I can't wait to hear like people's reactions from it this weekend. And it's
Mm-hmm.
also like I like I kind of want to say it's like bold because it's not. This shit should be more common, but like it is so fucking queer. Like
Yeah,
almost like
yeah.
in your
Yeah.
face queer that like I fucking loved that. Like I guess especially right now with like the way the world is, I'm glad this is coming out when it is because it rocks. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to like premiere because I want to hear other people's reactions to it, like that aren't sort of like, I don't want to say inside their circle, but like I would consider myself friends with Brandon. We talk kind of a lot on social media and stuff, and like I don't know. I'm really interested to see what like general horror public is going
Right,
to
like
think about it.
people
Yeah.
who have no like connection to the people behind it in any capacity.
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm real excited to see the like reviews start pouring in for this weekend because it rocks. I love it. I might have this above Death Drop Gorgeous for me. It's
Ah,
hard.
I'll
They're
have to
like
watch it again.
they're both
it
like for me like like I think I have both 5-star movies, but like I don't know. This worked so well for me.
yeah. I don't know. It is hard because they're both completely different
Right.
Yeah.
movies.
Wildly different.
Yeah. No, there's no one named
Oh,
Gloria
well,
Hole in this one.
Right. Yeah. There's no listen, as much as I liked this movie, there's no puns, and that is a misstep here. I'm just kidding.
I will say I fucking died laughing, and I messaged Brandon about it right after, because like Brandon and I talk a lot about like noise rock and kind of like 90s screamo and shit, and like there's like a moment where Caleb and Adrian are kind of having a little bit of like a fight in the beginning, and like Adrian's like, you always bitch when we have to go out with my friends, but the amount of like ambient noise rock shows you've taken me to, and I messaged him and I was like, someone has said this to you personally, haven't you?
Yeah,
he was
right,
like, yeah.
exactly.
It's like, yeah, I'll say that came from real life. Yeah, it rocks.
And his weird art friends.
Yeah. Again, when there's like an actual release date that it's coming out, well, I'm sure we will update you in like news section of an episode. But
For sure.
Full on news voice.
go follow them on Instagram and
Coming soon.
and Twitter. I think it's just at Saint Drogo, so they're easy to find. But yeah, keep an eye out. This movie rocks, and I'm very excited for people to see it soon. All right, yeah. Next episode is a movie called Spiders from 2000 that we already recorded.
Dun, dun.
Also, spoiler alert, somehow also a banger. What a good day for me. I watched both of these movies. I normally, if we're doing like multiple episodes on the same day, I do space them out a little bit, but I watched them both today, and I was like, you know what? Today is a day that I'm glad to be doing this.
And then you get to watch The Crow next, so...
I know. I'm suspicious. Things are going too. And before that, we did Twilight. Like I'm on high right now.
Yeah, but you also said that you want to do all the Children of the Corn movies, so we just gotta like we know we're heading towards a fucking iceberg.
Hey,
Yeah,
good
true.
news. At least 2 Children of the Corn movies rip.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 3 rocks.
But the bad news is it's 1 and 3, so then they get them out of the way real early.
I also ordered a extremely crusty copy of Night Shift so I can read the Children of the Corn story for the first time. And it also has the Mangler in it and Lawnmower Man. So like this is just the banger.
Oh man.
So it's got all of his only good books and all the good stories.
Yeah.
In it.
And I managed to find, the reason it's crusty is because I managed to find the one where the cover is like the hand with the eyeballs on it, which is just like piece de resistance.
All right. We'll be back next week with Spiders. I hope.
Spider time.
I hope you hail Saint Drogo. But why?
But why? You gotta.